start Denver, you knew you had to stop their fast break points. You had to get, keep their points in the paint down. What are the things you look at San Antonio and say, this is exactly what we have to stop?
One thing that, that jumps out immediately is that they're the #1 fast breaking team in the playoffs so far. You think about the Spurs and you think, they execute you to death. Obviously, Tony Parker and Tim Duncan, Ginobili off the bench, and, the great role players. But, they forced the tempo against the Lakers. I'm sure that was a game plan strategy. But we are going to have to make sure that, where they beat you is Tony Parker's, one of the best in the business at breaking down your defense, getting into the paint. Tim Duncan seems like he doesn't age at all. His ability to post up, his ability to read plays, rebound, and defend. And then they have, great role players that don't jump out on you, but, they do their job. And I think Kawhi Leonard is a young star player that's only getting better.
When you look at the series 2-2, obviously a lot of players didn't play in various games. What struck you, though, about the way you matched up with San Antonio in the regular season?
I thought they were good games. And the thing that's going to be refreshing, I think at the end of the day, we have tremendous respect for them. And, I really believe that they feel the same way. They appreciate the way we go about our business. And it's going to be a heck of a series. That's a model organization, the way they do things, the way they conduct themselves from top to bottom. And at the end of the day, I think, we have certain strengths that's going to be, beneficial, but they have some things that we're going to have to handle. They do extremely well.
Other than Diaw, are you expecting them to be primarily healthy?
I don't know. Obviously all year long with them, it's
right.
It's been guys out and guys resting and guys recovering. So it'd be interesting to see how healthy they are. Even if you go to Splitter, we don't know, where he is right now, but we'll find out. But at the end of the day, somehow, some ways, that team is still the same, no matter who's on the floor. They beat you, they execute, they compete, they don't make mistakes. So our task is going to remain the same no matter who's in uniform.
It seemed like Clay had some success defending Tony Parker during the regular season. Is that something you could use a little bit of in the playoffs?
Well, if you want to call it success, Tony Parker's a heck of a player. And I think at times bigger guys' strength and their length can have an impact on his ability to get into the paint all day and also finish in the paint. So it is something we'll use. But at the end of the day, you don't stop or contain Tony Parker with one guy. It's going to have to be a total team effort with the mindset of protecting the paint and being position to help.
You mentioned Splitter. How about his emergence this year?
He's really improved. He was always solid,
right.
But his ability to finish on the block, make plays, he's hurt us in the regular season on the offensive boards. He really played big against us. When you look at the numbers, they're staggering, but he does a great job playing off of Tim Duncan, and then when he's on the floor without him, he picks up some of the load that Tim usually carries.
Are you less likely to go small lineup against them, would you say?
Not really sure. Haven't thought about it much. There will be times where we will go small, obviously because they also go small. When you talk about a Diaw or Bonner at the 4 position, it's awfully tough to ask our big guys to play the pick and roll defense. Well, you're giving up something. It's much better when you have a smaller unit defending against that. But we'll make decisions based on what we see and the flow of the game. But at times, if you do go big, you want to make sure that there's a price to pay when they're going small against our big team.
Mark, you call them a model organization, which other people have done that as well. What about their organization jumps out at you? What makes them so distinctive in your mind?
Their consistency. They haven't had a lapse. Great players, 3 future Hall of Famers, future Hall of Fame coach. Consistent with the talent. The only thing that has not been consistent over these years have been the role players. and they've gotten consistent play, but they've been different characters, and it's just a joy to see how they do things. I've watched them as a player, watched them as a fan, I've watched them behind the scenes as an announcer, and as a coach. You get an appreciation for just how good they've been and just how well they've been able to sustain it.
Mark, the Warriors have had the attention of the Bay Area for a while now. Turn on the TV this morning, national stuff, and that's all they're talking about is the Warriors. I mean, that's like they just discovered them. I mean, how gratifying is it to you, or does it even matter to you that your team is suddenly getting some national recognition beyond the Bay Area?
To me, it's to be expected. This is a moment that I thought would take place, and the reason why I'm excited about it is because of those guys. They deserve this. They've waited a long time. They put a lot of work in. They've stuck to the game plan, and they deserve all the credit. So I'd be sitting in the lounge, and somebody would say, "Coach, did you see, one of the shows this morning?" And truthfully, I didn't. I'm laying in my bed with the TV on, and it comes on. I'm shutting it off because it's easy to fall in love with these guys. It's absolutely easy to fall in love with these guys, and I'm already head over heels. So there's no sense in me going any deeper.
Well, even Stephen A. and Skip were going back and forth on the Warriors today. I don't ever recall that one.
It's it really shows you that things have changed around here. It's a beautiful thing to be relevant, and not just in this area, but people are embracing this basketball team. And I think at the end of the day, it's how they conduct their business, how they compete, and they're just a lovable bunch of guys that, through their flaws, you look at the end of the game, there's nothing to love about that. But these guys they're brutally honest. They tell the truth, they care about each other, and they do it the right way, and it's awfully fun.
When you go back through the last few minutes, is there a consensus on what happened? Were guys running away from the ball a little bit? Or?
Can I borrow that? I was going to ask you the same thing.
You're screwing up my story.
I tell you, it was bad basketball, and I think it was just a young team that panicked. I wish I could had in my coach's manual a way to explain it, but I don't think anybody's ever gone through that. We tried to give the game away, and it was bad. And you get in the locker room afterwards, and guys are shaking their heads like they can't believe that stretch of basketball that they put forth. But the great thing about it is you needed to stop. You needed to make free throws. You needed to get a rebound. We did all those things. So I will not allow a span of basketball to define who we are. I'm not going to panic. We'll go over it. We'll make sure that we're prepared, which we were. They're just a young team that saw the finish line and got out of character. But I'm awfully proud of them, and I don't think that we'll ever see that again in the history of the game.
Do you use that as a teaching tool, or do you just erase that portion of the tape?
I mean, that's comical. I use that as, a skit.
You did have a rookie knock down 2 free throws with a minute left, and you also made 23 out of 24 free throws last night, which I don't think anybody ever mentioned.
And this is how crazy this group is. So after going through all of that, they come out of the timeout, and Harrison, the rookie that makes the free throws, looks at me and says, "I got you, coach." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You got me." But he went to the line, and he knocked them down very calmly.
Where have you seen the most improvement from Draymond over the last 2 months or so?
He's been the same guy from day one. Works his tail off, loves the game, great competitor, great leader. I think the only thing is there are times where he's probably lost some confidence during the course of the year in his shot. He wasn't getting consistent minutes. For a span, his knee was bothering him a little bit, wasn't feeling comfortable or confident with his body, but he's worked extremely hard. And I told somebody this morning on one of the interviews I was doing, he said to me after game 5, this is a rookie, he walks on the bus and says, "Coach, I got you." And I'm looking like, what does he mean? He says, "I got 0 rebounds tonight. I played bad. I got you in game 6. And I looked at my coaching staff, we just shook our head like that's a special mentality. You get veterans that'll look for an excuse. He owned the moment, and he's a guy that played big time for us last night.
Mark, Andrew spoke pretty candidly last night about how frustrating the season's been. Said he was in a pretty dark place mentally and questioned a lot of his abilities. What do you tell a guy to pull him through something like that, and what's really changed for him here?
Well, he had to go through the process because he went from being #1 pick and a big-time player to being hurt and trying to get it back. And there's nothing, I never was in that position. So you just try to be there for him, and you try to let him know we're patient. We made the deal knowing that you wasn't 100%. We made the deal understanding that it was going to be a process. And we all have been frustrated at times, but at the end of the day, there's no control over how your body feels. It was never a doubt about how he competes or does he care. I thought last night, in the biggest game of his career, he had his finest moment. Played with force, rebounded, defended, made plays, played with an edge. And it's great to see when people go through all the adversity, all the trials, all the tribulation, and then experience success. He deserves it, and it was a statement game for him in this franchise.
To have a big guy play like that, how important does that become in the next series, given who San Antonio has?
Well, it's important every single night. You know, when you're talking about playoff basketball, it's a physical game, and you need an anchor on the defensive end. There are times when teams will trick you and go small, and it may not be that important, but overall, to win it all, you got to have somebody in the middle that can give you great minutes.